Hi everybody, welcome to episode 63 of the YarnderWoman podcast. It has been a while since I recorded another episode. The last one was in June. I did not in any way mean to have such a long break and a hiatus from recording. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have been watching the podcast previously, I apologize for that really long delay. And if you are new to the podcast, well, welcome and I hope you enjoy. Today is Friday the 11th of August 2017, so as I said, it's been since June, whoops. I am, as always, coming to you from Perth in Western Australia, and again, thank you so much for joining me. Now, because it's been such a while since I recorded, but I have still been knitting at my usual pace, I have quite a bit to show you. So it's going to be quite a finished object heavy episode, so hopefully that will be enjoyable. I can't see why it wouldn't be, but anyway, I hope it is. I do have a couple of things I have finished, but that I'll save for the next episode because they're still blocking and they're wet, so I can't get them up. So let's dive right in. Because we've got so much to show, we're not going to have a broaching the subject segment today. So as you can see, I'm not wearing a brooch, but I am wearing this very cool, if I do say so myself, Harley Quinn jumper. Here she is. It's like an applique Harley Quinn, then with the Harley Quinn Argyle. So I thought I'd show you that because why not? Oh, something else I wanted to show you. I've got a podcast mug. Yes, the YarnderWoman podcast. So on redbubble.com, my partner Damien's art business, DKS Art Design, he's got all of his designs there. But he designed my logo, so you can actually get YarnderWoman merchandise, including this mug. You can get them as well with like a picture side on, but I went for the front on, I suppose, however you describe it. In any case, let's go and look at all these finished objects, shall we? So we're quite sock heavy. I've got 4 finished pairs of socks. Very exciting. I'd sort of forgotten. It's terrible because you see what I've been doing is when I've been finishing projects, I put them in my podcast drawer, as I call it, where I just keep things ready for when I next record because I hadn't, as I said, planned that it would be this long on hiatus. So today when I went to get everything out, I realised I have 4 pairs of socks. One of them is for Sophie, my stepdaughter, but I have 3 finished pairs of socks for me. So here's the first pair. Ta-da! So on my Lumi Graphica sock blockers, that were sent to me for review, and my review is they are awesome. These are in YarnderWoman yarn. So I finally have YarnderWoman socks. It's so exciting. So you last saw these socks as yarn when the yarn was so kindly dyed and sent to me as a present by B44 Knits. Thank you so much, B. And I knit these when I was at the Supernova Comic Convention here in Perth, which was at the end of June. So it was great fun having Wonder Woman themed yarn with all that pop culture around me. Damien, for his art business, had just finished a Wonder Woman design, so I was posing my yarn with that design, as you can see here. So they were a great knit. So I only finished them the other day because on the toe of the second one, as I was weaving in the last stitches, so I used the toe from the Skedaddle sock pattern by Lena Gerald. It's a free pattern, and the sock itself, I believe, has a cable on the foot, but I just use the toe component. And you do decreases all around, and then at the end you just gather the last 8 stitches together. As I was doing that, somehow I dropped one of the stitches, which made the row below, which was a knit 2 together, come apart. And embarrassingly, I couldn't find a crochet hook at the time to try and pick it up, and I wasn't having any luck picking it up, just with the end of the knitting needle. So I put them aside till I could look for the crochet hook, and then embarrassingly I kind of forgot because I was just, they were out of sight, out of mind. And then I suddenly went, I haven't done my Wonder Woman socks. So they are done. They are awesome. Love. So these are the socks that are for Sophie, the Yander teen. She has her own hashtag on Instagram, hashtag the Yander teen. So these were for her 17th birthday. Cannot believe she's 17. And they are knit with Invictus yarns. and I believe the colorway was Invictus Dreams, and it's a BFL nylon blend. Now, when I was knitting these, and I believe I might have mentioned this when these were a work in progress in my previous episode, the yarn is quite a bit thicker, and there are even some points where it went quite thin, but then got quite thick again. And you can see they're sort of a bit baggy on the sock blocker, so they've come out a bit big. So had I realised this before I'd knit most of them, I probably would have done fewer stitches. I think I did 68, because that's my usual sock recipe for myself, and Sophie has pretty much the same size feet as me, they're just slightly shorter in the foot. So had I realised they were going to be a bit big, I probably would have gone down a few stitches. But having said that, she wears 10-hole Doc Marten boots, so these are quite nice and squishy and, you know, extra thick, and then there's no risk of them falling down because the boot is, you know, gripping over the ankle like that. So you may also remember last time I showed them, I realised I had dropped a stitch on the first sock towards the back, which meant for a good portion of the leg and then part of the heel, I was one stitch too few. So what I did then was just increased a stitch on the heel and then kept going from there and was back to basics. Back to normal. So I did the same deliberately on the second. At one point when I was at the same area, I just did a knit two together to then go up. So that was fine, and it was all even. When I was finishing off the second sock and looking at the first one, you know, just looking at both, I found another dropped stitch on the first sock. I don't know what happened. There was no way I could replicate it again, and I think one stitch is not going to make too much of a difference, so I just caught it, you know, with the stitch marker, and then at the end wove it in and tied it off. And I just don't know what I was doing. I can't remember, was I knitting them in the dark or something? Who knows? It doesn't matter. But the other weird thing that happened with these socks, so as I said, my normal sock recipe for myself is 68 stitches, and socks that I've knit earlier in the year, I'd worked out that a good length for me was about 85 rows in the foot, then start the skedaddle toe, and that was working out really well. So I didn't think to measure the sock on my foot. As I said, Sophie's feet are just a few rows in knitting shorter than mine, so at no point did I think I needed to measure because I was so confident I'd found my sock recipe and it was all good. When I finished the first sock, had finished the toe, tied it off, I put it on my foot. It was probably about another that much longer, and I just and I was thinking, oh well, it's thicker yarn, so obviously it's made a massive difference and in the gauge, the row gauge, and I just haven't taken it into consideration. Okay, you know, rip back, shorten the foot, go from there. So that was the case. Finished them off, all good, done. As I'll show you on some other ones, that wasn't the case, but I'll first tell you the rest of the story about these socks. They were very well received. Here's a photo of the Yarnder team when she got them. She actually hugged them. So we went out for dinner that night and I gave them to her to open over the table at dinner. And yes, she was very, very pleased with them. So these are washed. I'm showing them to you clean, but she has worn them several times, and yeah, she very much loves them. She's a very, very good knit recipient. She's very knit worthy. Now, as I was saying, the sock length has gone weird. So this is another pair of socks that I finished. Aren't they cute? These are in the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn in their bird range, and this one is called the Bullfinch, and just so my colours. Yes. Now I got this yarn at the Unwind Craft Cafe, which is in Melbourne, and I got it at the end of my trip to the Australian Sheep and Wool Show last year in 2016. And I cast these on just around, I think, the week before the sheep show this year that I had planned to go to but then wasn't able to. So I was a bit sad because, you know, as well as all the gorgeous yarns that you can get, and taking a trip would have been lovely, I really, really, really wanted to catch up with all my knitting friends, to, you know, people I've met previously, people I know online, people I haven't met before. But it wasn't to be, and I wasn't able to go, and that is fine. You know, we can't do everything that we want to do all the time, unfortunately. But that was the reason I chose this yarn to cast on, because it's really gorgeous and it sort of reminded me of the trip last year. Also also it comes ready wound in a skein, and lately that's been the reason for me choosing most of my yarns, has been what's already wound up and ready to go. Wound up and ready to go. Yes. So I used my normal recipe, which is 68 stitches, 2x2 ribbing. Now for a little while, and I think, now which socks were they? Some pairs of socks I tried doing 72 stitches for the ribbing, then going down to 68, but I found they weren't staying up as well. I can't remember now which pair it was, but anyway, so 68 stitches. I just did ribbing for one each of the stripes on there. So it's a self-striping and self-patterning yarn with all these little sort of faux fair isle parts in between. And I just used a plain black yarn. I believe this was a Bergère de France, just plain black, just for the contrast of the heel so that I didn't have to interrupt the stripes. Now, I'm getting there. This is a very roundabout story, isn't it? So as I said with these, I had to rip back and make the legs shorter, and I had assumed it was because the yarn was thicker. I had to rip back and make it shorter on these as well. So previous pairs of socks that I've knit that fit me, that are not too big, are at 84 or 85 stitches in the foot from the heel to the, before I start the toe. These, let me just check my notes, are now 75. So 10 rows difference on normal sock yarn. As when I say normal, I mean, you know, this one was a little bit thicker, but it's happened now on several pairs where the thickness is different. So can my row gauge have changed that dramatically? It's very confusing. To add even more confusion to the mix, these socks, which are my fourth pair, I had knit one of these last year, earlier this year, and then I've just been slowly working away on the second one. They've just been, you know, sort of grab and go. These are my old sock recipe of the foot, and as I said, one was knit a while ago, so even if it was that my current row gauge changed, they fit with the 85 rows in the foot, and that's a thicker yarn as well, so it's thicker than this one. So you'd think if anything I'd need more on that one, but no. So essentially it's very confusing. I don't know what's happening. Does anyone have any ideas? I mean, I guess I'll just have to make sure when I'm knitting socks going forward that you know, I do a quick check on my foot to see that it's not way over where the toe needs to be, but confusing. But anyway, that was those. And here's these. So this yarn, also Bendigo is the Australian Sheep and Wool Show. That's where it's located, in the town of Bendigo. Similar to how the New York Sheep and Wool Show is called Rhinebeck, colloquially, because it's located in Rhinebeck. So this yarn is Rosehip Island self-striping yarn, and it was dyed just for me by the lovely Hannah in my colours, purple, black, red, and speckled grey. And she gave this to me last year at the sheep show. So that's also why I finished these around the time of the show this year, because I couldn't be there. But gorgeous, gorgeous self-striping yarn. It came in a gobstopper ball, so I've got a teeny little bit left over, so that'll be fun to use for another smaller project. This yarn that I've used for the heel, it's sort of a charcoaly black that goes quite nicely with the darker stripes there. This is from Stray Cat Sock Yarn. It's one of their contrasting solids. When I was knitting it, my hands were getting the black dye all over them, and it was like a lot. It was really quite annoying. So when I blocked these, I made sure to put a colour catcher in, and then it was fine, nothing ran. So hopefully all the excess is out now. And I look forward to being able to wear these and enjoying them, because so many socks. Oh, I don't know which one to wear first. What a wonderful conundrum to have. So another faux that I have this time that was a whip last time was the Tailor's Oldest Time cowl. So this is the one that's designed by Annie of Little Skein. And there was originally a kit with mustache yarn, but I used some Knit Picks yarn in some self-striping and some variegated. It was a gift and I have already given it, so I don't have the finished object to show you here. Nor did I take a finished object photo before I gave it away, because why would I do that? Dear me. So, but the lovely recipient has sent me a photo of her wearing it, and I've cropped it so it's just the cow, and you can see how it looks when it's all folded up. So yes, it turned out really beautifully. I really recommend the pattern. It's very easy once you get going. It's just round and round and round, and then you just join at the end. I did say in the last episode that Twee from Twisted Stitches was also making one, but I was confused. She's making socks using the yarn that was prepared as part of the Tailor's Oldest Time set. However, she has said she was wanting to make a cow, so she may yet, we shall see. But Jasmine from the Knitmore Girls is also knitting the cow version, and that is using the yarn from the kit. So if you're interested in seeing that, those are a couple of other people that you can have a look at. So works in progress. I actually found myself in a bit of a slump's not the word at all, a little bit of a quandary as to what to knit next earlier in the week, because I'd finished so many of my sort of larger ongoing projects. I did have a couple of little things in the work, but they just weren't gelling. But one of them, I just said, well, I can't decide what to knit, so I'm just going to knit this. And surprise, surprise, a lot of things got knit. So this is a tube sock. Oh, aren't those colours amazing? This is for Yarn Denise, my 10-year-old, sorry, she's 9, she'll be 10 next birthday. I've already, moving her on in age. Oh, no, stop growing up. Obviously keep growing up because that's natural in life, but anyway, this is a tube sock. It's not really following any pattern. I just cast on 64 stitches because that's what I've made tube socks for her in the past. Obviously her feet are much shorter, but kids' feet can be quite wide, so having the tube sock, it'll just mean, it might be a bit baggier around the ankles where it's stretched out for the heel, but that means it'll keep fitting for quite a while longer. Gorgeous self-striping yarn is from Desert Vista Dye Works, and this is in the I Want to Suck Your Blood, or Drink Your Blood. It's a vampire reference. Now, I bought this years ago. Actually, quite a lot of my stash is quite old, say from, I'm not even sure, 2012, 2013 or so. That was when the Australian dollar was doing really, really well against America. In most cases, sometimes even a little bit above. So, and that was around the time I was really getting into knitting as well. So I bought a lot of yarn online back then, which means my stash is very healthy and I have a lot to draw from. So I bought this one, and when I bought it, I had thought that this hot pink was red, because colours can look different on monitors. So when I got it and it was pink, I was a little bit disappointed because obviously I love red, and it's not that I didn't like this, I just, one of those things that just got put in the stash drawer and didn't come out again. I must have been going to knit it once though, because I divided the skein in half and had caked it into 250-gram cakes. I think perhaps there was a Walking Dead knit along a couple of years ago I was going to join, and then, for whatever reason wasn't able to. One of them, I think I'd pulled some yarn off to give away in a swap because one of the cakes was lighter, and that was this one. So I started with this one because I just wanted to use up all the yarn. So I just knit right to the end there, and that's as big as I'll make the second one, obviously. So I might have a little bit left over of that cake. So for the toe, I've again done the skedaddle toe as I do on all my socks. And this lavendery colour there is from Query Fibre, and it's just one of those contrasting skeins. Sorry, I don't anymore have the label for the Desert Vista Dye Works, so I don't have that one there. This is, oh, I'm all tangled. This is the very messy, because it got caked up ages ago, skein, and I've just started the ribbing on the second one. So those are going along nicely. There's no real deadline for these, just I saw my niece and nephew the other weekend, and my niece just said, "You need to knit me more socks, Auntie Linda." Who am I to say no to that request? So I might give them to her just because, or I might keep them for Christmas, we'll see, because I'll ask my nephew if he also wants more socks, and if he does, then I'll wait till I've knit both of them socks before I give them, so that there's no hard feelings and no one feeling there's favouritism happening. But yeah, they're really fun. So with the Desert Vista Dye Works she calls them the zombie stripes with all the speckles, because I think it's meant to look like, you know, splattered blood and guts. And then this particular one had the lavender speckles, which I think are beautiful. And as I was knitting them, this week I've got a vase of flowers with some roses and some lavender from YarnderWoman's garden. And looking at the lavender, the colour in those lavender stripes here is just so much like lavender. Here's a photo to demonstrate. So yes, so pretty. I'd like to get some more of Desert Vista Direct zombie stripes. I think I once saw like a Dorothy Wizard of Oz one, and so it was blue and red, and then with the zombie stripes between. That looked quite fun. So, but sometime. Until then, I will enjoy these, and they're living in this little bobbins bag with the cute polka dots and the knitting fabric at the top, and then there's more polka dots inside. So that means that this project is eligible for the Power Cow, the podcast along knit along that Michelle from Actually Knitting podcast is running. So go and check out her group for all the details. I'll link in the show notes. And essentially it's about supporting podcasters and using their products. So Little Bobbins has the wonderful Little Bobbins Knits podcast, and her project bag is going to be part of my entry. So check that out, see if there's anything you could enter, and we'll talk some more about knit-alongs in a later segment. And my other active whip has sort of taken a deviation in what it's going to be. So it's fingerless gloves or fingerless mitts. I finished the first one. This is it here. This is a pattern by Susan B. Anderson, and I've gone blank on what the pattern's called, but it's a free pattern, so I'll link it. As always, all my projects are linked to my Ravelry page in the show notes, which can be found at www.yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au. And this is knit in Knit Pick Stroll Fingering in the Cobalt Heather colourway. Now these are for a gift, and the person had requested grey, and these are grey, as you can see. As I was knitting, I kept looking at them going, it's quite a warm grey. It's almost, you know, a browny stone colour, and given it's called Cobblestone Heather, that's quite a good name for it. I also think I might have made the thumb hole just slightly too small. Actually, probably the thumb hole's okay, but it's the bind off is a bit tight. Now, I have really small hands for an adult. I think I've only met 2 or 3 other adults that have hands as small as mine, one other person that had smaller. Now, I've only started comparing that in the last 5 or so years, so I possibly had met other people in other countries with smaller hands. But my point being, if it's a bit too tight for me, it's likely going to be a bit too tight for the recipient. So I was sort of thinking, okay, well, I'll have to rip out the bind off, pull it back, and I was like, that'll be fine, but, you know, that's not very exciting, so I wasn't therefore excited about the project anymore. I've done this much on the second one. This is living in, also Little Bobbins. Little Bobbins Needle Cozy, and it's got the words different names of coffee all over it. So this means this is also eligible for the Power Cow because it's a different product and just happens to be by the same podcaster. So this is where I'm up to on the second one. So maybe about a third of the way up on that one. And it's going fine. But as I said, because I was thinking I'm going to have to rip it out, I wasn't too enthused. And then I've also been thinking, am I even happy with it at all? You know, I've just done it plain, which is what the pattern is. And I was thinking, well, the person might like plain. But I was just thinking, I don't know if it's the right colour grey. And I just had all these, you know, consternations happening. So as a result, I hadn't been knitting on it. And I was just knitting on the stripy socks, as I showed you. And when I got to the end of that first ball of the striped yarn, I wanted to get the contrast colour, and I was thinking, I know I have that purple yarn somewhere in my stash, so I was going looking for it. And earlier that day, when I'd been thinking about these, I was thinking if only I still had some grey yarn that I know I made a shawl out of in, maybe 2013, 2014. And it was by Skein Yarn, and the colourway was Sterling, and it was this lovely tonal light grey. So I went and looked in my drawer where I keep all my Skein yarn, because I tend to keep my yarns by dyer, because I find that the easiest way for me to find things. And there was nothing left, and I thought, I've obviously given away the leftovers. So I was looking through another drawer looking for that purple query yarn to use for the toe of the stripy socks. And what did I find? This is the leftover skein yarn that I had been looking for and I'd been hoping to find, because I've previously knit that same pattern using a different skein yarn and they turned out really nicely and the size was really good. Because that's the thing, the number of stitches and everything and the needle size that I used on these was exactly the same as previous pairs. So that's why I was a bit surprised that it was too tight. And I'd used Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, so it is stretchier than a regular bind off, but it's not like that's the cast on. You can see that goes out much more than that. So I'm very excited. And isn't that meant to be? You know, I had this like nagging feeling of, oh, I don't know about that, it's not working out. And then through just forgetting about it and working on something else, the yarn I wanted reappeared. Yay! So obviously I did not put it back where it should have gone, whenever that was long ago. I'm guessing it's probably that I didn't have the label for it and didn't realize at the time when I was putting it away what it was, so I just put it wherever. But yes, so I'm very happy. So what I will do with these, I'm not going to rip them out. I will finish this second one and I think I will donate them to a charity, probably a women's shelter. You know, women and children often come to those shelters from domestic violence, and I think this will be really nice for either a woman with smaller hands than me or perhaps you know, a tween girl. Actually, they could be for a boy as well, because they're not, you know, a particularly gendered colour for people who like specific colours for specific genders, which I don't personally, but I'm giving this to someone, so obviously it will be up to them what they want to wear. So yeah, I will definitely finish that and put that in a charity giveaway pile that I'm I'm putting together, and then I can cast on for these, because I need this present about 5 weeks time, so plenty of time, because it's a very quick project. So I really do recommend it. It's really simple. It's just stocking it all the way. I was thinking though I might make it a bit more interesting and maybe do some seed stitch, like a panel of seed stitch down the middle or something. We'll see. I haven't really worked it out. I was thinking about a cable, but to be honest I don't want to muck around with the number of stitches, because this size is quite good in the wrist and the hand. So I think some seed stitch will give it some interest. That will also involve pearl stitches, obviously, which will give it that slightly bit of extra width, because I think most people's pearls are a slightly looser gauge. Mine definitely are. So yes, that's the plan for that. Very excited. It's in a Hello Kitty bag that I got when I went to Japan when I was 16. So it makes a very nice project bag. And it's a present for someone in Japan, so that works out quite nicely. Acquisitions. I have been so spoiled. During the podcast hiatus, as I'm now referring to it, in July, it was my birthday, and it was also the podcast 3rd anniversary. So more on the podiversary in another segment, but I was so spoiled for my birthday. I was sent so many lovely patterns, and thank you so much to all of you who did send me a pattern. It was beyond heartwarming. I was so happy, so thank you very much for those. I also received some lovely, non-related to my birthday, just a lovely gift from Ty, who has just started her company Daydream Yarns. So Ty is on the other side of Australia. She is Jellybean's mama on Ravelry, and the Daydream Yarns website there on Etsy. And as I said, she's just started her company, and she asked if I would be happy to give something away on the podcast. And I said, yes, absolutely. But she also sent something for me, which was so generous. So these are the two things that came. Look at this bouquet of yarn. So she said I could choose, and it was very difficult. I'm just trying to arrange them so I don't send them all flying. Because this fun bundle is called the Mystical Creatures mini set. So all the yarns, for example, we've got zombie dogs, vampire queen, rainbow unicorn, spectra, you know, all sorts of mystical creatures in them. And they're just so pretty. You could do all sorts of things with those. So those are one thing. And then this one, the colorway is Drusilla. anyone who knows Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Drusilla is one of the vampire characters. So despite it being incredibly hard to choose, the fact that it's a vampire name and it was Drusilla, this one definitely went out. So thank you so much, Ty. I am keeping this one and I can't wait to knit it. It's so soft and squishy. It's a 75-25 merino nylon base, fingering weight, but it's really quite plump and soft. So that's going to be lovely. I haven't decided what I'm going to knit with it yet, but it'll be something great. And then these are a prize for the podcast, and I'm going to tell you what the prize competition will be very soon. But something else where I received a lovely gift and the podcast did was from wonderful designer Marsha Ibuki. She has released several new patterns lately, and one of them is the Sorrento shawl, and she designed that when at a knitting retreat in Sorrento, Canada last year, and then she released it in time for this year's knitting retreat. So as I said, she sent me one, which is gorgeous. It's a beautiful pattern, and then we're also going to use the other one for a giveaway. So why don't we talk about that now? Okay, so because we've had such a break from the podcast, I thought it would be really fun to do a giveaway. And we've just had, as I mentioned, the 3rd podiversary. Can you believe we've been doing this together for 3 years? So fun. Thank you so much to everyone who's ever watched, who's watching now. It means so much to me. It really, really does. This podcast is just a really important part of my life, and I love being able to interact with you. So please keep it up, keep watching, keep joining me. Let me know anything you like or don't like or want differently, anything. I love to get comments on Ravelry, on the YouTube video. As I've mentioned before, it's there'll be more of a delay of me replying to the YouTube comments just because I can't always access a computer as such, whereas Ravelry I can access on my iPad, but I'm not able to see comments on YouTube on my iPad. Is that a settings thing? Does anyone know, or is that just how it is? But anyway, that's how it is for me. But if you know I can change that, let me know. Anyway, because it's the podiversary and I've missed you all, let's have a really big giveaway. So the prizes we're going to have, one of which will be the gorgeous Sorrento shawl pattern from Marsha Ibuki. One will be this gorgeous bundle from Daydream Yarns. Go and have a look on Etsy, support this new business in Australia. If you're in Australia, obviously you'll be getting lower carbon miles. If you're overseas, you'll be getting a really good deal because the Australian dollar is not good against the American dollar or the pound or the euro anymore. So yeah, get on there. You'll get some good discounts just by normal shopping. Some other prizes that I've had waiting to come out and play. One is this Circus Tonic Handmade Gorgeousness. This is a single ply and it's in the Providence Petrel colourway, being the name of a bird. And along with that, I've got 2 blue mini skeins from Space Frog Yarns, and I thought they would make a good prize because that might even be a shawl or something that you could do together, or you can do whatever you like with it, but that will be one prize. Excuse me as I lean over. This prize, I've been waiting a while. This is the cutest fabric. I have a bag in this fabric as well with the cute little bunnies and lambs. And it's from Little Skein in the Big Wool. I have a lot of her project bags, so I can attest to their amazing quality. And oh, that fabric, how cute is this? This is from her Velveteen Rabbit collection, I believe. And oh, it's just so cute. Oh, so cute. So that one I keep wrapped up in some paper, what do you call it, tissue paper. So that'll be all nice for you. And with all those prizes, you'll get some YarnderWoman stickers. So again, these are from redbubble.com using DKS Art Design logo from the podcast. And so those will go in to your packs as well. I may come up with some other prizes, but for now, I think those are quite a lovely combination. Prizes everywhere. So there's a thread in the Ravelry group because it's about the podcast and the podiversary. Tell me something you like about the podcast, if there's anything you'd like to see on the podcast, just anything really, anything to do with the podcast. Leave a comment there. I'll leave the contest open for at least a good couple of weeks, if not 4 weeks. We'll see how we go. But to give everyone an opportunity and as much time as possible. So if the thread is open, feel free to post. Now, speaking of prizes, we had a competition that closed a while ago, and unfortunately I haven't been able to announce it here in the podcast, so my apologies. That was for a copy of the gorgeous shawl design, the inaugural design from Vicky, who's going by Devixter Designs, and she is the Devixter Designs podcast, which is awesome. You should check it out. She so kindly gave me a copy of the pattern and then also one for you, and the pattern is called So Close. And the winner, no further delays, chosen by randomnumber.org, was post number 6, who is Safe54 Cheryl from Illinois in USA. Yay! So Cheryl, if you can please send me a personal message on Ravelry as soon as you see this, and I will then get in touch with Vicky and she will send the pattern straight to you. So thank you again, Vicky. Thank you to everyone who entered, and again, my apologies for the long delay of being able to announce that. So we've also had some knit-alongs going, and I've extended one of them because let's keep up the fun and because we didn't have a podcast to discuss it. So July was our red along, which I did last year as well, and that is in celebration of my love of the colour red and my birthday and the podcast's birthday. Now, because we're in August, let's keep it going till the end of August. So any project where red is the main colour, or even if there's a little bit of red, please enter it in. So there's a thread still open. All the rules are at the top of the thread. Keep posting, and whips were welcome. So anything that you've finished during, from the 1st of July to the end of August. If you start it during that period, you don't have to finish it, but you can't enter something you finished in March, so to speak. So there's that one. We also have the Wonder Woman wrap knit along. So thank you so much. This is a pattern that was free by Carissa Browning, and it is amazing. Here's a photo. And when it came out, several people got in touch with me to make sure that I had seen it, which is so lovely. Thank you so much. I think it's really awesome that people see something with Wonder Woman and think of me. So exciting. So yes, we have a knit along for that. So you can have cast it on any time. The knit along's going to wrap up. It's a wrap. Ha ha ha. Anyway, it's going to wrap up at the end of August, but you don't have to finish by then. It's just one thread for photos and discussion, so go and have a look. I have started and finished my wrap, but that is one of the things that is still blocking, so I don't have the physical thing to show you right here, but I did post a photo on Instagram you may have seen, but here it is in case you didn't. I love it. I think it is such an amazing pattern, and I think the colours I chose are just so me. I did, they're both Madeline Tosh in the Tosh Merino Light Base, which is a single ply. In the red is the colourway Tart, and the silvery grey is Composition Book Grey. And I love it. I cannot wait to wear it. Hopefully it'll dry because I'm going out this evening. I'd love to be able to wear it tonight. But we shall see, I guess. Being winter here, things aren't drying as well. And our heating hasn't been working, but it got fixed this morning, so yay. I've been wearing a lot of knitwear lately because it's been very cold in the house. But on a serious note, I am very grateful to have my home and to have the luxury of having heating, and glad that it was still covered within warranty and it didn't cost us anything to fix. So tangent into the serious there, but yes, I am very grateful for those things. And I'm grateful for this awesome shawl pattern that was free and that we're having a knit along. So please do come and check out the thread there. Have a look at what everyone's doing. If you've already cast on, or if you're thinking of casting on, come and tell us about it. Post some photos, and there'll be some prizes for that one, of course, as well, as there will for the read along that I was talking about earlier. And I'll chat more about those prizes in the next episode. So, a lot's been spinning me right round. The main thing is I've been on leave for the last 4 weeks. So, the company I work for has a policy of long service leave. So, once you've worked there for 10 years, you can access additional leave. It's been lovely. I go back to work next Monday. Again, being serious, I'm very grateful for my job. I'm very grateful for the provision of having all this leave. But it would be nice if it was still going, you know what I mean? But it's funny, at the beginning of the leave period, because I was so exhausted because, anytime you take leave from your job, it's very busy beforehand because you have to get everything set up. because no one was replacing me as such. Someone was doing part of my job, but not all of it. So I was trying to make sure everything was set up for them, and I wanted to make sure they were supported. So I was doing like 11 and 12-hour days in the final week, which is great fun. But that's okay. But my point being, I was really tired. So when I first, started the leave, I was like, hey, I'm just going to rest. Had this long list of things I was hoping to get done around the house, decluttering, sorting. None of that's really happened. I spent a lot of time knitting, some house things, not a lot. A lot of doctor's stuff, it was handy, being able to take family members to appointments without having to be, take leave from work, so I was already off work. Last week I think it was at some kind of doctor every single day for either myself or various family members. But yeah, so it's funny, I sort of don't feel I achieved a lot during the break, but I think that's, a case for self-compassion needed, because it wasn't like I had to do those things. I was just, doing what I needed to do, and what I didn't need to do didn't get done, but that's okay. One thing that did get done was lots of planning for our Japan trip. I think I mentioned, and I can't remember where we were up to in the process. Last time I mentioned we were planning to go. But we're having a lot of delays with some passport and administrative stuff. But that all got sorted out. It's all official. It's all happening. We're booked in. I'm so excited. I've mentioned before I lived in Japan in the mid-2000s for a couple of years, and I've been back a couple of times since then. But not since 2009, I think. And Damien has been once, and Sophie has never been. She's never been overseas at all, so she's very excited, and it's going to be amazing. So yeah, a lot of the earlier part of my leave was planning the Japan stuff, which was very exciting. So more on that as it comes. I do intend to do some vlogging while I'm there, just on my general Japan trip, but also I've got a few yarn related places that I'm going to visit, some shops and some other knitting things, so there'll definitely be some video on the knitting stuff as well as other things if you're interested as well. So sort of getting myself into the Japan mood, I listened to some audiobooks of some novels that I read long time ago by Japanese author Haruki Murakami. If you haven't read his work, obviously this is in translation. My Japanese is conversational. I couldn't read a book in Japanese. This is the translation, but the translations are usually held to be quite good for his work. And I read A Wild Sheep Chase, and then the sequel, Dance, Dance, Dance. Now, Haruki Murakami is quite an unusual writer, so weird things happen in the books, and sometimes they just end and you go, oh, okay, it's over. So, but I really do like these two. They were some of my favourites before, and I remembered part of them, but some things were completely new, which was great. And I always find with an audiobook as well, you get a different interpretation as well, depending on the narrator. I would say the narrator has very strong American accent, because obviously it's, in English. So some reviews on audible.com were saying it was hard to sort of remember that you were in Japan in the book, and I would agree with that. But overall, that's fine. And A Wild Sheep Chase has sheep. Obviously, it's nothing to do with knitting, but there are some sheep, and there's references in one section they're talking about all the different breeds and that sort of thing. So there was a bit of a sheepiness to it, which was good. And I also learned, and I assume this is the case, that sheep only came to Japan a couple of 100 years ago. They were brought over from China. And prior to that, they were only known in Japan through the Chinese horoscope of the sheep being an animal there. But so I don't think there's too many sheep in Japan anymore, and certainly nowhere that I'll be. But if I see any, I'll be sure to take a photo, but I doubt I will. But yeah, so I would recommend those books. Another audiobook I listened to, now let me just check my notes. It was called I See You by Claire McIntosh. It was a sort of not a murder mystery, but, a suspense mystery. It was pretty good. When it got towards the end, I was like, oh, that's a little bit obvious. But then the very end, there was a big twist, and I was like, ooh, that was clever. So yes, I did enjoy that. That one's set in England, and it was read with an English accent. So that one you could, really feel your location. So yeah, I would recommend that just for an easy read. I'd, call Haruki Murakami more literary fiction, if you like. And this one was more just a bit of a more casual read, if that makes any sense. I don't mean any judgment or one's better than the other, just trying to describe the types of books they are, because, you know, we all like different things and in different moods for different things. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next. At the moment, I'm catching up on some audio podcasts because my phone keeps telling me my storage is full, so I've obviously got too many podcasts waiting. So once I've done that, I'll think about another book to read. So with that, I think we will wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have really, really enjoyed catching up with you. I did miss you while I was away, but, you know, life just happened and things got in the way, but we'll be back on schedule now. We'll be on more of a routine, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. So in the meantime, please do come and chat on the Ravelry thread. We've got the giveaway, the knit-alongs. The charity knit-along is still going. That's a year-long cow, or it's a make-along really, because it can be knitting, crochet, sewing, weaving, if it's relevant, you know, anything like that. So have a look. So do come onto Ravelry. You can, if you're not already a group member, please do join us. Just go to the groups tab and look for YarnderWoman podcast. As I said earlier, all the show notes are on www.yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to go and get ready. I'm heading out tonight. Damien and I are having date night. One of the independent cinemas in the city here is showing an Australian film called The Killing Ground, and there's going to be a Q&A with possibly the director, but I know the main actor, Aaron Peterson, who's a really great Australian actor, is going to be there. So I want to get there nice and early to make sure I can sit near the front, because in these cases where the you know, actor or whomever is speaking is at the front, that's the time you want to sit at the front of the theatre. So not too close though, because otherwise we'd be sitting there with a bad neck. But anyway, I'll let you know how that goes. Whatever you are up to, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope there's something yummy in the fridge waiting for you. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye bye.